What's up, Internet? We are here with something a little bit different. See, every year I try and go to some garage sales to get some cheap games because I have to keep this show stocked, and, well, eBay is getting incredibly expensive if you're in Canada. And I don't have a lot of money. Feel free to hit up the Patreon, support me so that I can actually afford to keep this show running at least a little bit smoother. Anyway, you know, this town has always been terrible for video games. There's only like one retro game shop in town and they overcharge on everything, so I really do have to go to garage sales. But the thing is, with like no retro game shops to buy retro games at, there aren't exactly a lot of garage sales that happened to have any retro games. And during this pandemic, it's even worse. I mean, there was like a total of 4 entire garage sales this entire year, and I went to every single one of them and was mostly disappointed. I'll talk more about that during my loot video at the end of the month, but I was waiting for something else for this. Anyway, you know, I was complaining about this while I was streaming some Animal Crossing one night, and, you know, everyone's favorite color with 2 repeated sets of letters, Vermilion with 2 N, came to the rescue and said, hey, I'm looking to pare down my PlayStation collection and, you know, make a little bit of money on the side. Would you be interested in video games? And I am a firm believer that there is no such thing as a stupid question. But that is the exception. You don't ever need to ask me if I'm interested in video games. It's kind of my thing. So we talked about it. We were trying to work out like a transaction and stuff, and well, it started at the beginning of August, and I didn't actually get it until now, which is almost the end of October, but we ran into a couple issues. The point is, I finally have this, my big-ass white Australian GameCube, and I would love to show this entirely in camera, but this box is literally the size of the end table that I shoot on, so that ain't happening unless I pull the camera super far out, and, well, then I would have to show this really, really ugly, gross, storage closet that I do this in, so we're not doing that. But we're going to talk about this Australian GameCube. I assume it's a cube full of games. Full disclosure, I do have an Akubra, a lifetime supply of Tim Tams, and a Wallaby coming. It might be any of those. Pretty sure it's games though. Although saying that, I really do want some Tim Tams. After this I'm going to get some Tim Tams. That's a plan. Anyway, you know, we tried to work on this, and it wasn't the smoothest transaction. There was a few hiccups, but it was no one's fault. It was just random happenstance. But, you know, Vermilion with 2 N's, he's a cool dude. He was really, really just a solid dude about it. He went super far out of his way to make this, like, the most enjoyable transaction I've had. He had some really good prices. He undercut stuff like price charting fairly decently as well, which, you know, that's cool. But, like, just for an example of how much he wanted to try and make this a really great transaction, you know, this box was actually sent to me twice. The first time, it went from one side of Australia to the other, sat at Sydney for 2 weeks, and then got returned, and no one knows why. So he sent it out again, and just to be super cool about it, he even paid for express on it, which I can actually see the receipt on the box for that, and that was probably 1/3 of his profits right there, which I feel really bad about, but, you know, that's just a great example of how cool he was about this whole transaction. So, full disclosure, this is a box of... well, I ordered 9, but it's actually got 10. Again, we'll talk about that when it comes out. PlayStation games. Original PS1 games, which my PlayStation collection is a little bit lacking. It's also full of packing peanuts for safety reasons, I assume. But we're going to pick some stuff out and show you what I got. Now, I ended up paying quite a fair bit for this, but again, I want to just stress, it wasn't because he was overcharging me or anything. He was giving me really, really good prices. I apologize for all this noise. But... you know, it was sort of a thing where if I didn't end up spending, you know, this much here, I would never see some of this stuff, so I figured I kind of had to go for it. Now, this is a photo of his game collection that he showed me. I was super, super jealous of it. I mean, look at that. He's got freaking Kudelka on the PlayStation 1, and as a Shadow Hearts fan, that offends me because I don't have a copy. Anyway, you know, and, you know, complete side tangent, but if you're going to use something like this photo, like I borrowed from him, ask first. Like, even if it's implied, just, you know, if you're going to use someone else's stuff, ask. I'm just saying that as someone who's had some of his videos stolen over the year. Just ask, at the very least. It's okay, sidebar over, but, you know, just don't be a dick about stuff and ask. Anyway, you know, I was looking at this whole list of games, and I was like, wow, he's got Tales of Destiny, he's got Persona 2, he's got Xenogears. Oh my god, I can't afford any of this. I am absolutely, completely, 100% screwed. What is that pink box? So I saw this weird pink box, and I like to think I'm kind of an expert on video games. I mean, it's ostensibly the only thing I'm close to an expert on, and I was really racking my brain for what it possibly could be. And pulling something out of my own collection for a minute, I really thought it was this box right here, which is, of course, Sakura Taisen 2 on the Saturn. But the thing is, PlayStation 1 didn't have Sakura Taisen 2. In fact, Sony wouldn't get Sakura Taisen until the 5th one on the PS2, and I know I had the Wii version until someone stole it, and now it's rare and expensive, and I'm bitter about that because I'd like to play it again. So it wasn't this. So I had to ask, what is that pink box? Because if nothing else, morbid curiosity. And of course, this is all on Discord, so I have to sort of read a little bit of tone into this, but the way he responded seemed so incredibly nonchalant. He said, oh, that is Japan exclusive, import only, anime tie-in obscure Mega Man clone. And I was genuinely just sitting there thinking, how do you say that so casually? Like, the only way you could make that sound even better is if you included the term action RPG. And he followed that up by saying, well, you know, it's just some no-name game. I think I spent $15 on it. If you're interested, I will sell it to you at cost. And then he actually cut that down to $10. And I was thinking, going back to that photo, oh god, there's so many really rare, expensive RPGs on here. I'm getting none of this. I'm at least going to take bizarre Japanese Mega Man off. So here we go with Hyper Speed Grandal, based on an anime. I'm going to try and fix the focus a little bit, because that seems to not be working super well. There we go. And I haven't played this, but I've got some really exciting stuff in this box. This might be the thing I'm most excited about. Because, you know, weird, obscure, Japanese exclusive Mega Man clone with an anime tie-in. I looked up the Wikipedia page of this, and, you know, it even says, you know, the full article is, it was based on a 3-episode OVA, and it's kind of like Mega Man meets Metroid. So I think I've said more about this than even the actual official page on what this game is. But it looks a hell of a lot of fun. I'm super excited. I'm going to try and stream this super soon. And it's the premium edition. I don't actually know what that entails, but, you know, it comes in a fancy pink box. And for $10, having a second weird pink box on your shelf, that's worth it to me. The fact that it's a badass import, you know what? That's okay in my books, I think. I'm really excited about that. Okay, so our next thing, and again, I apologize for all the noise, there's a lot of packing tape on here. I should have probably thought about this a little bit better than I did, but we're doing this. Next we're going with the thing I paid the least amount on. We have Blaster Master Blasting Again. Now, I'd like to say that I have no experience with Blaster Master, but that's not really strictly speaking true. I just have a really wildly unconventional experience with Blaster Master. See, I've played the first 2 minutes of the original Blaster Master about 200 times on various multi-carts, and the thing is, it's always in the PAL version, so it's playing at 200% speed, so you can't really, like, play it to save your life. But that game looks like a lot of fun. I'd like to get original Blaster Master at some point. I've also played Blaster Master number 2 on this weird Chinese knockoff handheld thing I've got, which I actually really like. But I don't like Blaster Master 2 so much. It was made by a group of people who'd never heard of Blaster Master, who had never made a console game in their life, which explains why a Genesis game of all things has loading screens. And it was just an abysmal thing. I still kind of want a copy though, just because of how bad it was. But I remember seeing Blaster Master Blasting Again on HG 101 back before they changed their entire website layout, and I refused to use it because it's awkward and I don't like it so much. But this looked like a relatively competent version of one of those sort of, we're taking a 2D game and we're reimagining it in 3D. It looks a little bit dark, it looks a little bit dreary, but it looks like a lot of fun. And I paid like $5 for this. So just to, you know, again, expand my PS1 collection, which I think is pretty woeful at this point, you know, $5? Sure, and it looks interesting. And it's more Blaster Master, which, I only have, like, experience with 3 games. I also have Blaster Master 0, but full disclosure, I got that purely for the Shantae DLC, because I'm the biggest Shantae fan ever. And I just realized this is a Shantae game that came out this year. I haven't played. I need to get on that shit. Okay, so I mentioned that I ordered 9 games and I got 10. Here's where sort of the second hiccup came in on this. And basically what happened is, you know, we started in August. He created like he showed me the photo, then created a list of stuff on the photo he's willing to sell, so not everything was up for grabs or anything. And you know, I went through the list, said, okay, I want this, and this. And one of the last steps of this whole transaction was, okay, I'm going to take photos of this, just so you know, like the disc quality and stuff. He was very, very thorough in that. And then I'll send you my PayPal, you can pay me, and I'll send it on its way. So the key takeaway here is I hadn't paid for anything yet. And I think that's an important distinction. Because he came back to me and said, hey man, you know, I'm sorry about this. I don't want to do this, but looking at it, I kind of don't want to sell this one game you wanted. And again, I hadn't paid for it. I had no real right to complain. I am fairly bummed out about it because it was a game I really wanted. Like a lot of stuff in this box, it was an RPG. It was Legend of Dragoon, which is my girlfriend, one of her favorite games, so I was pretty excited about it, but I can't get it. But again, I hadn't paid for it. I got no reason to complain or anything, though I am a little disappointed because I do want to play that at some point. But he came back and said, but you know what, to make it up to you, and again, didn't have to, I will pay entirely for shipping, and again, he went for express after the whole shipping mess up, so that was, he didn't need to do that. We had initially agreed on going halvesies on shipping because it was getting pretty expensive for me, but he didn't even need to do that. Like, that's just how solid a dude this guy is. But, you know, he said, I'll pay entirely for shipping, and I will include 2 free games on top of it. And one of those games was a game that was listed that he wanted to sell. The other was one he didn't list that he didn't want to sell. So I'm interested to see what these are. So the first one we have is on the list of games he did want to sell. We have Mr. Driller. Now, Mr. Driller is a perfectly fine arcade game, but my feelings towards it are, I guess, best described as aggressively indifferent. I've got the Game Boy Color version of it, and I know a lot of people go crazy for Mr. Driller. I think it's okay, but it's not, it didn't hit a super powerful chord with me. But I did think about getting this when he was offering up for sale because he was willing to sell it for about $15. And it would have been a good way to, again, expand the collection. But again, it was just getting a little too pricey. So to get this, it's not a game I'm gonna be like super into, but it's a good little addition and it's a fun little arcade thing. So, you know, Mr. Driller, that's not too bad. I think that's not a bad little addition, especially because I didn't pay for it. The next thing, which I also have to take out, is a thing that was not on his list of things he wanted to sell. I don't know if he just overlooked it or if he decided to sell it later. But we have a game that I'm actually kind of interested in, even though it's apparently by Titus, which is not that great. We have Evil Zone. Now, this is a game I actually know pretty much nothing about. I've only ever heard of it once. It was on a list of the worst voice acting in video games, and that immediately told me I needed this on my list to play it at some point. I have no idea what kind of game this is. Never saw any screenshots, never saw any gameplay to it. You know what? Let's play a little game where I try and figure out what this is based on what little I know about it. So, it looks fairly anime, and I've never heard of this game on an RPG list. So, knowing that, and knowing that it was on the PS1 and Sony had a vendetta against 2D games on their PS1, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say, based on just that basic knowledge, this is an anime-inspired 3D fighting game. I have no idea. Haven't even looked at the back of this. Maybe I'm gonna show gameplay footage over this. I'm not sure. But either way, I definitely will for our loot video, which should be coming up soon, provided I get all the footage done. Oh, this is gonna be a lot of work. But you know, we'll know eventually. But this was on a list of like the worst, absolutely bottom level voice acting, and that immediately got my attention. So I had to have this, and he wasn't willing to sell this, but he threw it in, which was really a pleasant surprise, because I do have some interest in this game, even though I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so next we have a little game that I think not a lot of people are going to care too much about, but I absolutely do, because it's very historically important to me. See, there's this little trilogy of games on the Super Nintendo that I love with a passion. Everyone loves this trilogy from what I hear. I've even got a little international collection to it. But the thing is, as much as people know about this trilogy, what they don't understand is it's not a trilogy. It's a quartet. There's 4 games. The last one was only ever released on the PS1, and I've never had a copy. It's not a super expensive game, and I don't think it's really all that desired, but I've just never run into a copy. But we have Soul Blader, in English that was known as Soul Blazer, that's a Japanese copy. We have Illusion of Gaia, and we have, of course, Terranigma. This is a European copy slammed into a North American cartridge. That was the trilogy made by Quintet and Enix. But a lot of people don't give credit to the 4th game, which is the Grand Stream Saga, which is the final thing in this little quartet of games. And no one gives this game any credit, and I don't know why. This isn't a super expensive game. It's normally like $10, $15, which is about what I paid for it, but you know, I as a fan of Illusion of Gaia and this collection, I really wanted to play this, and I hear it's actually a really, really damn good game. So, pretty excited for more action RPGs by the guys who made Illusion of Gaia, which is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. This is probably going to excite no one but me, but I am unbelievably over the moon for having Grandstream Saga. I had a chance to buy it a couple of years ago, and I could have gotten this as well as like the entire Trails of Cold Steel set, and instead I got Shepherd's Crossing, like the worst game ever. So that's a bit sad, but I'm excited to have Grandstream Saga. That is a collection of games I now have complete, and I can't wait to give it a shot. Alright, so next we have a game that I actually already own, sort of. I own it digitally, but I absolutely needed a physical copy because I'm such a big fan. We have Wild Arms. Not to be confused with Wild Guns, that's another game I really want to get a hold of. But Wild Arms and I have a bit of a weird history. See, I started with Wild Arms, I think either 4 or 5. It was the PS2 one that had like the weird hex-based system and was set in the future. I played that game and I hated the ever-living hell out of it. But then down the line, I saw someone play like just the opening to Wild Arms. I can't even think who it was. But I saw someone play the opening to the original Wild Arms, and I was like, holy crap, why am I not playing this? Why did I get that other piece of crap? Like, I just sort of assumed, well, you know, I don't like this game, maybe this series isn't for me. But Wild Arms looked like a really, really damn good JRPG, and it is. It's got like a cool Western theme with an anime aesthetic, and it's got like some post-apocalyptic, like sort of cyberpunk feels to it. It's got sort of a fantasy sci-fi vibe to it. Got a great soundtrack. The opening cinematic theme to this game was my phone's alarm ring for years, until I had to get rid of my phone. But Wild Arms, it's a great RPG. I can't wait to play this again. Maybe we'll do this in the New Year's, like a Let's Play or something. I'm juggling some ideas for Let's Plays, but really excited to have this. Now I'm just missing the PSP game. Again, it was either 4 or 5, the one I didn't play, and the remake to this, which I hear is not a very good remake, but it also costs like $400. So, you know, I'm just really excited to finally have a physical copy of Wild Arms, because this is a really, really fun game, and I absolutely adore it. I know it's probably, no one is going to consider it, but I would say it's probably my favorite RPG on the PS1. But I'm also not a Final Fantasy VII guy. Like, I can't stand Final Fantasy after like 6, so. Okay, so next we have a game that I added mostly because I saw it was getting really expensive on eBay. And Vermilion just wanted 25 bucks for it, and I had the previous one. So I figured, you know, someday maybe I'll want to play it. It's better if I just jump on this now because it's cheap now. We have Saga Frontier 2. I don't have a ton of experience with Saga. I played the first original Romancing Saga, and I hated it because that was a game I played for 8 hours straight and never ran into a single plot point or a fight. It was wildly, like, these games, as far as I have experienced, don't hold your hand at all. I played Unlimited Saga on the PS2 before that was stolen, and that game was a piece of garbage. And I played, what was it? The original Saga Frontier, which, again, was not a very hand-holdy game, and it had some issues. But, you know, I was looking, hey, another RPG, it's not super expensive, it's really expensive on eBay. This is going for about a third the price. Screw it, I'm gonna just jump on this and grab it so I don't have to worry about it later. But I will say, if you are looking for a Saga game, what you need to get is Live Alive on the Super Nintendo, because that is like the best import RPG we never got. And my battery's gonna run out real quick, so I'll be back in just a sec. Alright, and it's convenient that the camera kind of cut where it did, because the last 3 games I kind of wanted to do together, mainly because they have like a connecting theme to them. So, you may recall I said I spent a fair bit of money on this selection. I'm not gonna lie, it was these last 3 that did it. And these last 3 were like the thing outside of Grandal that is like the most exciting part to me. And that's because these games were released by a little company I've always wanted to collect for. See, like, when they released games, they made sure their releases were an event. Their games, they were taken to the nines. They had like hologram covers, multiple discs, props included in their discs. Like everything they did was limited print and like really high profile and really hard to get a hold of back in the day, which is why they cost an absolute fortune now. Like these next couple games, I think I spent like $80, $90 on it, which sounds like a lot. It's basically the price of a new game in Canada, so I'm gonna play these more than a new game. So, you know, if I justify it that way, it's not so bad. But the thing is, each one of these costs, in the condition I've got them, it's like a $250 on eBay right now. I don't know if they're selling for that price, but that's what they're being listed as. But to give you an example of how like really passionate and dedicated this one company was to their games, they made a port of, what was it, Magical Knight Rayarth, which was like this isekai anime schoolgirl thing featuring 3 main characters. So for their limited run, they had 3 parallel limited runs, each with a disc emblazoned. It had the character, one specific one of the trio, etched on each disc. So they really cared about the source material and their releases. Like I said, unfortunately they're a little hard to find, but they also did put out the one light gun game I ever really wanted. And this little company is called Working Designs. They're both famous and infamous because their translations are a little bit dodgy. They're not direct translations. They make a lot of like pop culture references relative to the 90s and stuff. And they've even gone out of their way to even edit some stuff. Like, if I recall, they're kind of famous for making things a lot grindier and a little bit harder. But what's also really cool is in each one of their games that they put out in their manuals, they'll actually talk about their localization process and every change they made. Like, they were really, really passionate about what they did, and I really wish they were still around. Unfortunately, they ended up like burning bridges with Sega and Sony. And again, they only put out like really high-profile limited releases that cost a lot, so they didn't really make a ton of money. But it's a real damn shame. But I really wanted to collect for Working Designs. Never got a single one of their games. Now I got 3. And we're starting with a game I didn't even realize was a Working Designs title. We have Alundra with a really, really fancy cover. Like I said, they really made their games awesome and taken to the nines. They wanted to make their games and their releases special. Now, like I said, I didn't even realize this was a Working Designs game. But I think I played this on a demo disc once, way back in the 90s when I went to someone else's house to play their PS1 because I never had a PS1. And this was a sort of top-down action RPG adventure game. A lot of people, in my experience, tend to liken this to A Link to the Past, but better and more anime, because there's more cutscenes and stuff. There was a direct sequel to this, Alundra 2, but as I understand, that game was literally a complete different game that had nothing to do with this, that they just bought the name Alundra and slapped it on there to try and get some sales, and it wasn't very good. This game, as I understand, is very, very legit, and like I said, I'm thinking about some Let's Play potential, and this game is definitely up there. I am super jazzed to have Alundra. This is very exciting for me. Again, I'm just excited to have any amount of Working Designs. Look at the back. That is embossed text in gold leaf. They really did go to the nines with their games, and I really want to get all the Working Design stuff because that is just so damn cool. Alright, so what's the next one we have? That would be this one, in a very big box. This one might take a little bit to unwrap, so I don't want to damage it in any way, shape, or form. But we have another RPG by Working Designs, or like localized by them anyway. And it's a game I've really wanted to play. It reminds me a little bit of Lufia in that I know it by reputation, but I've never had a chance to play it and I've always wanted to. We have Lunar Silver Star Story in its big fancy ass box. I definitely want to get one with a box because these are just really cool. Again, Working Designs, they made really, really cool stuff out of their games. Now, I've heard this is a really damn good RPG. It's sort of your standard JRPG, but it looks really, really cool. And I've heard nothing but positive things about it. Again, I don't know much about it, but I always see these Lunar games on like best of lists and stuff. And I'm looking absolutely forward to playing this. This is gonna be fun. I love JRPGs, and to get JRPGs made by a company that really seem to put a lot of passion in what they do, and one that I just want to collect for in general, that's quite good for me. That is very special to me, and that helps to make this sort of a collection and like just a general pickup and transaction that will pretty much beat out every other one I've made this year, maybe in multiple years. And finally, let's get it out of this box. We have a really, really heavy box. We have Lunar 2. And I think this actually is complete. I know this came with like a soundtrack, it came with like a bunch of little standees, and I think it actually came with a prop from the game, like it came with that girl's necklace or something as like an actual prop. I think that is actually in this, which is pretty cool. But I'm just, again, excited to have another Lunar game and another really awesome JRPG on the PS2. Look at that artwork. That is sexy artwork. And like I said, like Lunar, like Alundra, these games, they were going for about $250 on eBay. I'm not sure if that was what they were actually selling for. I'd have to go to price charting, and I don't do that too often. But Vermilion was asking for like 80, 90 bucks for it. It's like, wow, this is something I have to jump on, or I will never see this again at this price. Maybe never get to play these games at all. And, well, that's just really, really exciting for me, because I've always wanted to collect working design games. Now I've got 3, and they're 3 of their more higher profile games, I think. Yeah, and aside from a whole bunch of packing peanuts in here, that is my big white Australian GameCube. And it wasn't filled with Tim Tams or a Wallaby. I'm a little disappointed, but I got awesome games, especially these guys, and I definitely needed to get these, and Grandal at the very least. I was very excited about this. I can't wait to like delve into this and play these games, and I'm really just trying not to explode through the roof with excitement, because I'm so excited. But these are some really cool games that were sold to me at an unbelievably good price by a really cool dude. You know, 10 stars, would do business with again if he wants, you know. I am very partial to Sega Saturn games and PS2 stuff, and I've seen his collection. Still very jealous. But this is some really cool stuff, and he was an absolute cool dude, and this was just a fantastic transaction. So huge shout outs to Vermilion for his awesome collection and willing to let me take part in it, and I will do my best to take care of this stuff and give it the proper place on my shelves that it deserves, as well as the proper coverage in videos and stuff when I have the time. I am dealing with a whole lot of stuff right now. I apologize that my release schedule is kind of hectic right now. My life is, it's going through some stuff, but I'm doing my best. But anyway, you know, I had to get this video out, so I probably won't record gameplay footage for this stuff, but look forward to my loot video, which, honestly, I was waiting for this box to do that, so hopefully that'll be pretty soon. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and, you know, if you do, follow the show to know when we make more stuff, which is usually trying to be daily, or check out my Twitch to see me stream every single day, which right now is just Animal Crossing, but, you know, in the new year, I'm thinking I might have to do some of these. I got sort of I'm thinking maybe do like a 5-day rotation of 5 different games. I don't know, I got some ideas. Maybe I'll leave that up to the Discord, which, if you want to join, you know, go support the show through its PayPal or Patreon so that I can afford to have more awesome games to talk about, because this really wasn't inexpensive, but it was a ridiculously good deal, and this might be one of the coolest pickups I've ever had. But either way, I just wanted to share this with you, and, you know, once again, big shoutouts and thank you to Vermilion with 2 N's, and I hope to see you again. Peace out, Internet. Woo! Oh, why'd I do that? I have to clean this up. And that's gonna push back Tim Tam time. Shit. Anyone got a broom?